Hello, my name is Shanique Francis. Welcome to Schools Not Out, your daily classroom for CSEC and CAPE students. You can watch this lesson real-time on Television Jamaica's YouTube channel or on onespotmedia.com. We're also live on Music 99 and gojamaica.com. If you have any questions about today's subject, you can send them in to Television Jamaica's Facebook or Instagram page at television_Jamaica. Today we are discussing CAPE Economics Unit 1. Our topic for today is market failure and intervention. Now, our objectives for today include to explain the concept of efficiency, to distinguish between social costs and private costs, as well as social benefits and private benefits. We will also look at the concept of deadweight loss. We will look at distinguishing between different types of goods, so private goods, public goods, and merit goods. We will look at the concept of market failure and what it means, and we will outline some of the causes of market failure. Then we will look at measures that are used to reduce or to intervene when there is market failure. And we'll also look specifically at the measures used by government and private sector. Now, before we get into the lesson, we're going to look at some key terms. So the first key term that we're going to look at is efficiency. Now, efficiency looks at the optimal production and distribution of scarce resources. There are different types of efficiency that we will focus on. So there is productive efficiency, and then also we will look at allocative efficiency. Now, productive efficiency looks at when a firm uses up its resources. So it's using the materials, for example, that it has for the production of a good, and it's using it so that it can produce the maximum number or quantity of goods so that there is no wastage. So that is productive efficiency. And this usually occurs where price is equal to the minimum average cost for the firm. Now, productive efficiency occurs along the boundary of the PPC or PPF. There is also allocative efficiency, and allocative efficiency looks at producing what consumers prefer. So a firm, for example, can be productively efficient. They can use their raw material to produce as many goods that they can, but at the same time, while they are productively efficient, they might not be producing the exact goods that the consumers desire. So there's also the concept of economic efficiency. And this exists when there is productive and allocative efficiency. So when the firm uses its material to the best of its ability, right, to produce the maximum quantity of goods, and also when it produces exactly what consumers prefer. When there is productive and allocative efficiency, we have economic efficiency. The concept of Pareto efficiency, which you should also be familiar with, it says that when a situation cannot be improved, it is considered to be Pareto efficient. Or the only way for you to improve one situation is to make another worse off. So for example, we know that in production, when we look at the PPF, the production possibility curve, it speaks to a firm producing two goods. Now, if the firm, say for instance, is producing apples and bananas, if it produces one apple, it will produce two bananas. If it wants to produce more apples, it has to produce less bananas. So this case where the only way the firm can produce more apple is to produce less bananas and vice versa, this is called Pareto efficiency. All right, so as it relates to market structure, we want to look at how efficiency relates to market structure, and we covered market structure a few weeks back. So perfect competition is an economically efficient market structure, while imperfect competition, the monopoly or the oligopoly, they're allocatively inefficient in their production. We'll also look at different types of goods. The first one is a public good. Now, a public good is one that an individual can consume without reducing the availability of it for other persons. And it is considered to be both non-rivalrous and non-excludable. So, one person consuming this good, does that diminish the amount that is available for another person? And also, you cannot exclude someone from using a public good. So I explained the concepts of rivalrous and non-rivalrous. So for instance, if I have a cake, if I am eating my cake, you cannot also eat my cake. So that would make the consumption of that good rivalrous. Also, we're going to look at the concept of excludable. So a good or service is called excludable if it is possible to prevent other persons from consuming it. So if you have not paid, then it is considered to be something you can be excluded from. So we're going to go for a quick break, and we will have more on Schools Not Out after this break. So don't go anywhere right now.
Get moving! Home workout series with Jamaica Moves.
Jamaica move, mobilize, flexercise. Jamaica move, Jamaica move, Jamaica move, mobilize, flexercise. Come on, take a selfie, breathe.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:35 a.m.
Hi! We haven't left you out. It's Get Moving Kids.
Wall Street above, we're moving.
Home workout series with Jamaica Moves. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 2 p.m. on TVJ.
Get moving! Home workout series with Jamaica Moves.
Jamaica move, mobilize, flexercise. Jamaica move, Jamaica move, Jamaica move, mobilize, flexercise. Come on, take a selfie, breathe.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:35 a.m.
Hi! We haven't left you out. It's Get Moving Kids.
Wall Street above, we're moving.
Home workout series with Jamaica Moves. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 2 p.m. on TVJ.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
Welcome back to School's Not Out, your daily classroom for CSEC and CAPE subjects. We're talking about market failure and intervention for CAPE economics if you're just joining us. So before we went for the break, we said that rivalrous goods are essentially goods that can be used up, which means if I consume a good and I mention cake, if I am eating my cake, then I'm using up the cake. It won't be available for you to consume. But a non-rivalrous good is the opposite. It's a good which cannot be used up. So it allows the opportunity for multiple persons to benefit. So say, for example, you go to an art museum or art gallery and one person is staring at a painting, right? So if a friend is staring at the painting, it doesn't mean that, okay, they're going to look at everything and there'll be nothing for you to see. You can both look at it at the same time. So that's an example of a non-rivalrous good. There's also excludability. So a good is excludable if it's a situation where if you did not pay for it, then you cannot acquire it. So that's an excludable good. So when we're looking at a private good, a private good is both rivalrous and excludable. You must pay for it to use it, and consumption by one person diminishes the availability of it for other persons. There's also the concept of merit good. Now, typically a merit good is a good which is considered to be something that's under-consumed because people don't know the full benefits of it, and the most popular examples of merit goods are usually healthcare and education. Now, in order for people to consume this good, the government usually subsidizes the cost of it, and so people will use more of this good. All right, there is the concept of private cost and private benefits. So we want to look at what private costs and benefits mean. So a private cost is the cost borne by the persons who are directly involved in a transaction. So say for instance, you go to the supermarket to buy a good. You're the person who you're going to buy food to eat. So you're the person who is going to benefit from the consumption of the food. So any costs associated with that good, the cost falls on you, and it also falls on the person who produced the good. So that's a private cost. The private benefit is where you're looking at the benefits by the persons who are directly involved with the transaction. So there's also the concept of social cost and social benefit. Now, social cost includes the total cost. So I mentioned what the private cost was before, but sometimes there are external costs. And an external cost is a cost to a third party, which is a person who is not directly involved in the transaction. And we're going to look at how someone who is not directly involved in a transaction, how they can incur a cost. So just to note that the social cost includes the private cost plus the external costs. And we normally consider this, the effect that the third party feels, as an externality. And the externality is just a general term because it can be used to mean an external benefit or an external cost. So in general, we refer to whatever effect the third party experiences, that is the externality. If the effect is positive, we say that it's a positive externality because it's a benefit, and if it's a negative externality, we know that as a cost. So for example, if you smoke a cigarette, right, if you are a smoker, no, you are not a smoker, but just say hypothetically you are a smoker, and you purchase a packet of cigarettes and you pay $600 for it, right? That's a cost to you, the consumer. Now the cost for producing the cigarette is also borne by the producer. Now, does smoking cigarette only affect the persons who are directly involved in the transaction, that is the consumer and the producer? No, because sometimes when persons are around you and they are smoking, you're also smoking too by way of second-hand smoking, so it can have a negative effect on you even though you're not the one with the cigarette. So when the third party faces an external or a cost or a disadvantage, we note that as a negative externality. That's an external cost to society. So the social cost of smoking cigarettes includes the private costs, that's the cost of production and the cost paid by the consumers, and it also includes the external costs. So all the third party persons, all the persons who are not directly involved in the transaction that may be affected by someone smoking. And the concept of benefits is similar. So social benefits are total benefits. So social benefits looks at private benefits and also external benefits. Now, can you benefit from a transaction that you are not directly involved with? Yes, this is possible. So moving on to look at the concept of externalities, I mentioned before that that's the effect on the third party due to the consumption and production of activities by others. Also mentioned that the negative externalities is where there's a cost faced by the external party. So when the marginal social cost is greater than the marginal private cost, this is where we have a negative externality. So it simply means that the cost for this for this entire transaction is not just limited to what the private individuals are facing. The cost for this also looks at the cost to the third party, and when there is a cost or disadvantage to the third party, we say that there is a negative externality. When there is a benefit to a third party, now we say that there is a positive externality. Typically, negative externalities exist when there is an overproduction of a good, and a positive externality occurs where there is an underproduction of the good. So one example of a positive externality: say you live in a community or you live close to a community and they start to construct a highway near your community. Now you're not directly involved in that transaction, it won't directly benefit you, but as a result of the construction, traffic has to be diverted, and you have a business in your community. Now traffic is diverted from another place to your community, and because of the traffic diversion, now more people are stopping by your business because there's greater traffic in the area. People are seeing your business and they're stopping there to spend money. So you're not directly involved in the transaction of the construction of the highway, but as a third party you benefit. So that's an example of a positive externality. Now graphically, this is what the graph looks like for positive externality. Notice that the marginal social benefits curve is higher than the marginal private benefits curve. So it tells you that there's an external benefit. And then we look at the negative externalities graphically, and you'll notice what's happening here is that the social cost is greater than the private cost. So the cost is not just what the private individuals or entities are facing, there's also an external cost or cost to society. And we notice the triangular area highlighted there as a social welfare loss, right? Because the market output is higher than the social optimum quantity. So the social optimum quantity would have been Q1, but the market is overproducing. They're making too many goods, and as a result, it could cause pollution, and so people are negatively or adversely affected. Another popular concept is the concept of deadweight loss, and it's linked to what we just looked at. So deadweight loss occurs when there is inefficiency in the market, right? When deadweight loss occurs, supply and demand are not in equilibrium. So you would be familiar with the concepts of consumer and producer surplus. Now we want to look at how consumer and producer surplus relates to deadweight loss, and we look at it specifically when we have price controls. So typically when the market is in equilibrium, we notice what the consumer surplus and the producer surplus is here. Now if government implements a price ceiling for a good, and we note that an effective price ceiling is always below the market equilibrium. If there is a price ceiling implemented, we notice that PE would represent the equilibrium price if the market were to operate freely. Now, if there is a price ceiling and the price is set at PC, that would be below the equilibrium. What happens is that the previous producer and consumer surplus, which would have been the areas of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's a combination. 1, 2, 3 would be the consumer surplus initially, and 4, 5, 6 would be the producer surplus initially. Now, if there's a price ceiling, what will happen is that the price will be lower. And typically, when we remember the law of supply and demand, when prices are lower, there's a restriction of supply. There's less of an incentive for producers to produce more. So the price of the good will be lower, and the price ceiling is where the government says, okay, don't sell the good for a higher price than this. So at that point in time, the quantity supplied moves from Q1 to Q3, and the new producer surplus is at 6, the area that's labeled as 6 on the graph. And also the new consumer surplus is the area labeled 1, 2, 4. And so the areas 3 and 5 would represent deadweight loss. That's the cost to society. And the opposite is also true. If there's a price floor where the price is set at PM, we'll notice that 1 becomes the new consumer surplus, and the new producer surplus is represented by 2, 4, 6, and the deadweight loss is still 3 and 5. All right, so let us get into the concept of market failure. All of that was just to give you a foundation so that you could just have a better grasp of these concepts. Now, market failure happens whenever there is any type of inefficiency in the market. Whether the market is overproducing or underproducing, we have market failure. Now, there are different causes or different reasons why we have market failure. Market failure could be due to a monopoly, public goods and merit goods externalities, divergence between social and private costs, as well as social and private benefits, imperfect information, asymmetric information, open access to resources, lack of property rights, and non-existence of markets. So all of these mentioned are causes of market failure. Now, to understand how asymmetric information would cause market failure, we have to look at what it means. So asymmetric information looks at where one party has more or better information than the other. It's like you're about to go somewhere with your friend, but you know the way and your friend doesn't know the way, so it puts you at an advantage and puts your friend at a disadvantage if they're trying to figure out, where we're going. So in this sense, in our business sense, there are two types of asymmetric information that we typically focus on, and that's moral hazard and adverse selection. Now, moral hazard looks at a situation where the behavior of one party changes after the transaction has occurred. So, and the behavior changes because this person is not the person who will essentially face the consequences. So say, for instance, you insure your motor vehicle, you get a comprehensive policy, right? So it covers a lot of things: accidents, theft, you name it, damage, scratches, anything to your vehicle. You have a comprehensive motor vehicle insurance policy. So you have your policy now and say, hey, even if I leave this car outside and I leave it open with the key in the ignition and it's stolen, I have insurance, so hey, who cares? Now, before you had insurance, you were very careful because you know that you would be on your own as it relates to replacing the motor vehicle. But after you get the insurance now, you decide that you can be very careless because the insurance company will have to pay you, and that's an example of moral hazard. The insurance company did not know beforehand that your behavior would change, and so initially that's how you would have had better information than the insurance company. And then there's also adverse selection. So uneven knowledge as it relates to adverse selection can cause the price of something to be different. So in this example, you're looking to get life insurance. Your friend is looking to get life insurance. Now, typically, insurance companies determine the premium that would be your regular payments or the fixed payments for your insurance policy based on the risk. And they're able to calculate the risks associated by asking you certain questions. So, for instance, if you and your friend are getting life insurance and your friend is a non-smoker, non-drinker, and you are a smoker and a drinker, typically your premium would be higher, meaning you would pay more money for that same amount of coverage. But what if you don't tell the insurance company this? What if you tell the insurance company that you don't smoke, you don't even know what alcohol looks like, you've never even, tasted alcohol? So more than likely, you and your friend might have the same premium, but you are at greater risk to the insurance company. Your health is at a greater risk because you smoke and drink every day. So this is a situation where, because you misrepresented your whole, health and misrepresented your social actions to the insurance company, they calculated a lower premium for you. So based on that, the price of your premium was determined because you're a non-smoker, non-drinker, according to you, right? But in reality, you really are a smoker and drinker. So you having that information now placed you at an advantage because you didn't communicate that information to the insurance company. Another factor which causes market failure is lack of property rights, simply not owning the rights to a particular say, for instance, space, a particular piece of land or something that you could be doing production on. You know, maybe we could be mining gold or something, and we have one place where it exists in Jamaica, but no one has the property rights for it, then it simply means that the market for gold wouldn't exist in the country. Another factor which causes market failure is monopoly, because typically the monopolies restrict supply in order to charge higher prices, and in doing so, monopolies underproduce. Can you think of any monopolies in Jamaica? Then there is the non-existence of markets. Now, markets can form under certain conditions, and if those conditions don't exist, then they can't be producing anything. What if there can be a demand for a good, but the market, it just doesn't exist, right? No one is producing the goods. So for instance, there is a demand for pure public good, but unless the government provides certain goods, no one would provide it. No business or private entity would provide it, because it would be hard for them to do so to make a profit. So for instance, we need street lights on our roads in Jamaica, but how can a business erect street lights and then charge people? They won't be able to charge individuals for using it. So for them, it doesn't make any sense for them to do it. So the government would have to do that. There's a demand for it. We need it, but there's a problem with assigning a cost, and also there's a problem of excludability. You can't stop anyone from using it, and you can't charge them. Another cause of market failure is public goods, which is very similar to what I just mentioned, so I'll just move on. Then there's open access to resources. So imagine that there is a good that you can provide and you have free access to it, right? The best example is, for instance, subsurface pools of oil or marine fisheries. You can stop someone from getting a boat and going out to sea to catch fish so that they can come back and sell others. So open access to resource, what typically happens is that things are allotted on a first come, first serve basis. So the first man to go out to the sea, if the first person goes out and catches all the fish, then there'll be none left for you to catch. And so the problem is that it's open. You can't restrict anybody from going out to catch fish. So that could cause market failure, because there could be the overproduction or underproduction. People can overfish. There's also the existence of externalities, which I went through earlier, and I think we have a pretty good understanding by now the role of externalities as it relates to market failure. We want to move on to look at measures used by the government to control market failure, right? So whenever goods are being overproduced or underproduced in a country, it means that there is a lack of efficiency and the markets can operate better. So the government could intervene to ensure that consumers are not placed at a disadvantage, or that, for instance, firms are not exploiting consumers in the case of a monopoly. So government may intervene. It is important to know that government intervention doesn't always solve all the problems. It can solve some problems, and sometimes there can be disadvantages for intervening in the market. Even though intervention, the goal of intervention is to correct, it can also cause disadvantages. All right, so the measures that we'll explore as it relates to government intervention looks at regulation, antitrust policies, taxation, legislation, state ownership, subsidies, and market creations. So these are all measures that the government can use to intervene in market failure. Now, as it relates to regulation, the government can implement certain regulations, and one of the common ways they can implement regulation is to prevent monopolies from forming, right? So this can positively impact individuals and firms. So it can positively impact individuals so that we're not exploited by high prices of monopolies, and it can also positively impact other private firms that want to compete in the market. They want to provide this good or service. Now, the disadvantage regulation, once there's a regulation in place, let's just say that people are just prone to breaking rules at times. So the disadvantage is that you set the rule, but guess what? Now you're going to have to monitor it to see if people are actually abiding by these regulations. So that's a disadvantage. And that can be costly to the public purse. Then there is antitrust policies, which is specifically for monopolies. So this is there to prevent monopolies from forming, or it prevents unfair, anti-competitive behavior. Now, while it promotes competition in the marketplace, which also benefits consumers by lower prices, it might discourage firms from being in that market because sometimes there are not enough customers in a market, or the fixed costs to operate are so high, it doesn't make sense for more than one business to operate in that market. There is privatization and deregulation, where the government can look at businesses or firms that are operating that might not be operating efficiently, and they can consider those state-owned businesses or those public businesses or public organizations. They can consider them selling them to a private individual or entity, and so that is privatization, and removing regulations can also help. There is indirect taxes which the government can use. So indirect taxes could be taxes on alcohol, special taxes on alcohol and tobacco or cigarettes. So the goal of that is that people will consume less of those goods. All right, so the advantages of taxes now. So indirect taxes are based on the principle that whoever is polluting the environment would pay, right? But sometimes as I mentioned before, both the person who is directly involved in the transaction, and the persons who are not involved, they're actually facing negative effects. So somebody could be smoking, you're inhaling the smoke, and it's causing a negative impact on your health. And the person who is smoking it also faces a cost paying for the good. So the taxation used to remedy this situation typically says that the person who is buying the cigarette will pay the taxes. So that's an advantage. So another advantage is that the tax funds that are raised will help the government, and in some instances they can use the funds that are raised to compensate the persons who have been negatively affected. And it will also discourage businesses from participating in some types of production. So what if the production of the business is causing the environment to be very polluted, and the government places a tax on the production? Then this would force them to cut back their production levels, and so it would reduce the level of pollution in the environment. Disadvantages of using tax, though, is that not in all cases the taxes collected will be used to benefit the individuals who suffer, the persons who experience negative externalities. And also, the use of taxes might make the cost of operations so high for the business that it discourages them from producing in that country or region totally, and so they choose to relocate to an area where taxes are lower. As a result, when they close their shops and go to another country or go to another area, it simply means that there's less tax revenue available for that country, and there's also less jobs available for those persons. So on one hand, you're punishing the businesses for polluting the environment, but then when you implement the tax, it could be punishing the individuals also who would have benefited from working with the company. Then there's also state ownership. So if the government realizes that a particular industry or business is operating there, underproducing or overproducing, they can take over that business to produce. They can provide subsidies to businesses in the event that there's a missing market or the market doesn't exist. It might be too costly, and the government wants to encourage businesses or individuals to engage in that type of production. They can provide subsidies to reduce the costs of operation, and so the goods and services needed by people will be produced. They can also create markets by making tradable permits available. So essentially, the government gives the go-ahead for people to engage in the production of certain goods. Now, We looked at some of the pros and cons of government intervention, and we're going to look briefly at some private sector intervention strategies. But before we move on, I just wanted to think about the causes of market failure and the different intervention strategies that I mentioned. I want you to try to make a link between the different causes and what strategies can be used to intervene in specific types of market failure. So I did mention before that there is regulation, antitrust policy as measures, taxation, privatization and deregulation, state ownership, subsidies, legislation, and market creation, making tradable permits. Before that, we also looked at some of the causes of market failure. And the causes include the monopoly, public and merit goods, externalities, whether they are negative or positive, asymmetric information, open access to resources, lack of property rights, and non-existence of markets for trading. I wanted to make a link between the different causes of market failure and also what you think the government could do to intervene in those different types of market failure. All right, so as it relates to private sector intervention strategies, we know that the private sector is limited in its power in terms of what it can do. So while the private sector cannot just go and take over a business that the government owns if the government is not looking to sell the business, or they cannot implement laws, there are different things that private companies can do, especially private companies that their actions might contribute to market failure, whether they're overproducing or underproducing, so that they can take advantage in the sense of restricting supply so that they can charge higher prices. Now, the main private sector intervention strategies that would be highlighted in your syllabus include corporate code of conduct or ethics, corporate social responsibility, voluntary agreements, and corporate ethics. So essentially, it's whatever the organization can agree to, whatever regulations or policies they can voluntarily agree to or set up within their operations to ensure that they are operating in a way that is efficient. So for instance, they can join or agree to voluntary agreements about how they treat the environment, how they discard their waste, and so those type of agreements would see either the business cutting back on production to reduce the effects of negative externalities, or they might do something that might include something in their code of ethics or operations with how they produce goods or services in the community or environment. So we want to recap all that you have done so far. Today we looked at the market failure and intervention. We looked at different types of efficiencies. We also looked at different causes of market failure as well as intervention strategies for market failure. We looked at deadweight loss and a number of key terms that you would have refreshed yourself with by now. So we want to look at some recap questions. So the first question is, a positive externality would occur where marginal social benefit is greater than marginal private benefit. Is this true or false? So it says that it's positive if the marginal social benefit is greater than the marginal private benefit. So if you guess true for this question, you are indeed correct. The benefit to society, it's beyond what the private individuals would face. Another question is, information asymmetry is where we both have the same knowledge. Two persons involved in a transaction and we know the exact same thing. No one knows more than the other person. So if your guess was that this answer is true, then this means that maybe you weren't paying attention, because asymmetric information means that one person has more or better knowledge than the other. So for this question, the correct answer is false. Next question. If the social costs of providing a product exceeds the private costs, then there is a case for imposing taxes or looking for other ways of restricting output. So let me say this another way. If the cost to society is greater than the private costs, then does that mean that we should impose a tax? Should the government impose a tax if the cost to society is greater than the private cost? Yes, because this means that there is a negative externality. And remember, I said I wanted you to think about the different causes of market failure and the different intervention strategies that can be used for each cause. So where we have a negative externality, then the imposition of tax could discourage that behavior of the firm, and therefore it would alleviate or reduce the effect of the negative externality. So the answer to this question is true. Then another question says, marginal social cost can be defined in which of the following ways? Is it A, B, or C? Right, so the marginal social cost is the marginal private cost and the marginal social costs. Sorry, that's marginal private costs and the marginal external costs. So the correct answer for this question is E. Next, which of the following refers to a situation in which those who purchase a product are less able to appreciate its quality than those who supply it? Right? So the persons who purchase a product, they're less able to appreciate the quality than those persons who supply it. If the regulation can be shown to result in a net welfare loss, then this may be used as an argument in favor of deregulation. Is this true or false? All right, so I want you to take note of some of these questions and answer them at your own time. Next, if the social cost of producing chickens is greater than the private cost, then we can be sure that is it A, positive externality exists, B, chicken is helpful and more should be produced, C, a negative externality exists, D, the price of chicken is too low. Next question, in order for someone to be a free rider, an activity must be undertaken that A, arranges for free ride sharing at rush hour, B, creates benefits for people who aren't forced to pay for them, or C, beautifies a neighborhood, D, improves national defense, or E, identifies the beneficiaries and forces them to pay. So because I don't remember us doing free rider, even though this is a concept associated with types of goods, I'll just tell you the answer for this one, and it's B. Again, just please note some of the questions, and on your own time, I want you to use this as your little challenge to answer. So all of the following are goods for which property rights are hard to identify except, is it A, B, C, or D? Next question, all of the following are ways to cope with negative externalities except, is it public choice, obligatory control, pollution taxes, creating new property forms? And the last question for homework, please take note of this question. So the private market will not provide enough of a pure public good because of, is it A, negative externalities, obligatory controls, public choice, special interest lobbies, or the free rider problem? All right, so now that we have gone through the topic of market failure and intervention, and I have given you an assignment to look at some of these questions and find out what you think the answer is for these questions. I want you to use that to help you prepare for your exam. Now that's it for this lesson, and you can watch a repeat of today's lesson on JNN later at 4 p.m. and in Schools Not Out highlights on Saturday between 1 and 4 p.m. It also will be available on video on demand on onespotmedia.com. All the best on your external exams, and congratulations to all the persons who have participated in graduations or will participate in graduations and school leaving ceremonies virtually. All the best.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when